Hey guys, good morning. Happy FYR Friday to you. It is Friday, November 22nd, week before Thanksgiving this year. Hope you guys are all geared up for the holidays coming. And this is the time, this is the tryptophan time for realtors, because this is the time that agents tend to get sleepy, all right, and set their businesses on cruise control and coast through the end of the year. But that's not what we do around here, because we have learned over time that this can be absolutely the best time for your business, the best time to help other agents make the move over to EXP. And hey, if everyone else is checked out, that's just more for us. So let's go. It's like inviting the vegetarians over to your house for Thanksgiving so you can have more of the turkey. All right.
So that's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
So as you guys know, FYR Fridays, we talk about agent attraction. We talk about kind of the whole package, because at FYR, right, stands for Fund Your Reason. And we are all about helping people understand what their reason is. Why are they here? What's important to them? What drives them? Okay, what's that future? What's the life they're building? What's the community that you serve? And then how do we use the EXP platform to finance that with all the opportunities that are here? And because everyone gets tired of me running my mouth all the time, we bring on some incredible guests from time to time on Fridays to come share what they've done. And Kristen and I are super pumped because we have some very good friends of ours who also are incredible human beings, but they've additionally done some really, really neat things. If you haven't heard of the Girls with Grit, the Gritty Girls, then you've been living under a rock, because they are everywhere. They have come on the scene and they've done the coolest stuff. We've been on a boat with them in Cabo. We've had so much fun. But seriously, if you have not checked them out, we encourage you to do so, because what they're doing and how they're helping others achieve success is just like really fits in line with what our mission is. And what we're doing here. So they have a ton of stuff to share with you. We've got Lauren and Tara and Jamie that are all here. And so I'm so pumped that you guys are here, ladies. Thank you for making time to hang out with us. We can't wait to hear from you guys today.
Thanks for having us, guys. We're excited to be here. So we thought that maybe one of the things, like you said, Dave, like this is kind of, it's kind of sleepy season for a lot of agents, which is interesting because coincidentally, so many agents have it as a New Year's resolution to make a brokerage change in 2025. And so, one of the things that we can be doing right now is kind of what we like to call priming the pump, if you will, right? Creating those relationships, working those relationships with agents that might be having that on their to-do list or their goals list or their vision board for 2025. So thank you so much for the invitation to come over and share with you guys.
I was just gonna say real quick, I think Dave was like really confused when he first met us several years ago now. Like, what is this? Do they like grits? I don't understand what's happening.
those Southern girls, they're almost talking about grits and stuff.
Insane. Oh gosh, I don't even know if Dave remembers this, but like the very first Cabo event where we met him, like Girls with Grit had just started. Dave was president. Like we were convinced that we were going to go talk to Dave about this like huge movement that we were creating. The movement was like less than 1,000 people strong at that point in time. And we were like, we're going to go have this conversation with him. And so we were so nervous, Dave. Like, I'm going to, I'll admit, we were so nervous, like to come talk to you about it. And because, at that point in time, it was really important for us to, get validation from the people that were around us that we were kind of on the right track, because what Girls with Grit is all about is creating community in real estate. Right. And so, and one of the things that's probably really unique about Girls with Grit, other than the fact that we niche down to just women, which lots of people are scared to even do that, but that everything that we do is totally broker agnostic too, right? So like there's really nothing that we do that is just like focused or highlighted on our brokerage or any other brokerage. And at the time, people are like, wait a second, what are you guys doing? Like when we started this, people are, so let me get this straight. You're going to go train other agents for free, like 150 hours a week. You're not going to talk about EXP at all. And you're also going to try to create this whole thing when the three of you are in three completely different EXP organizations. Like, good luck with that train wreck. See you next year. Right. And so, but we just, at that time, we really had it on our hearts to create something that was for all agents that we didn't get when we were coming up in the industry, right? Like all three of us have been selling for 20 years ish. And so that's a lot of time to freaking fall flat on your face and do a lot of really wrong things, right? And at that time, it was like we were coming out of COVID, people, their businesses were everywhere. Nobody really knew up from down, left from right. And we were like, let's just create a space where we can come together and learn from one another and share ideas on what's working for us in these wild markets. And so that's what we did. We were like, and I'll tell you what, it was scary because I think all three of us had this feeling like, nobody knows who we are. Like, why do they want to hear from us? Who's this person that's like hosting this class? I've never heard from them before. Which some of you guys might be feeling too, right? When you're hosting classes and things like that. And so, but we did it. And it started out on a clubhouse on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock. We would wear our pajamas and grab our wine and just chit chat a little bit on Clubhouse. And that grew into Facebook group, which grew into us hosting an event in the middle of COVID, which grew into like we hosted an event and shared a bank account before the three of us had ever met in person. Like that's the power of the online EXP community. And go ahead, Jamie.
I was just gonna say, like, we all met each other the very same day that we met Dave.
Yeah, that was the first time we had ever met. That's true. That is true. In person.
That's
Met in
amazing.
person.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and now, I mean, now we are like 3.5 years later. Our community's 21,000 agents strong. We have personally trained or over 7,000 agents have gone through some sort of training with us at some point in time. Our events now, we went from having 10 people on Clubhouse with us to our last event had over 500 agents that traveled from all across the nation. And so that's what we want to talk to you guys about today, if that's all right with you, is agent attraction and building community through events. Because I think that we can all get behind something that really feels good inside and feels authentic and feels passionate to us. And when we're talking about events, we're not talking about throwing $500,000, $700,000 events. Like, that's kind of where we are now, but we also started with throwing tiny little 5-person events. And we want to show you guys how you can take some of these different ideas, use it for agent attraction while at the same time pouring into the real estate community. And that way you can kind of create authentic agent attraction that doesn't feel gross or icky or anything like that. So are we on board for that, guys? Hopefully. Okay, good.
I love it. And I'll just point out real quick that, when you guys do events, and I know your events are bigger now than they were, but when you started, even your events were always excellent. So I just want to let people know when we're talking about doing events, so you can do events, you can do whatever. And, but beginning with the end in mind and understanding how to do them right is so important. And so that's the kind of thing where, when we're talking about doing events, I just want everyone to know, like I watched what you guys were doing from the beginning, and they were always done in a way that was very welcoming and very professional and really well done and fun. So
yeah. Well, and I'll say, our heart behind the events has always been the experience for the person on the other side, right? Whether that's a client or whether that's an agent in this situation where we're talking about agent attraction, like it's been less about the end, like produced product, and more about like, what can we do at the event to create that experience and that feeling? Because people will leave these events, whatever it is, they won't remember what they learned unless they wrote it down, right? And then they're only going to remember probably 10% of that. But they will remember like how you made them feel. Did you make them feel special? Were they valued? Did you remember their name? Did you put little touches? And so we, from the beginning, tried to be really good about that. And that has created a certain culture inside our community. And you guys can do the same thing.
Yeah, love it. All right, take it away.
All right, I'm going to share some slides, not because I'm the nerdy slide one, but it also helps us, I'll just admit it right up front, right? But it also helps us stay on track because otherwise, y'all, we will like go down a rabbit hole on something and y'all will still be here in 3 hours. So we're going to do some slides just to kind of keep us on track as far as kind of what we're going to talk about today. Whoops, too fast. Okay, so we're going to talk about what types of events you can host, right? Big, small. We're going to give you some different ideas, kind of maybe what would be a great first event, maybe some things that are events that you're not even thinking about as far as that it even counts as an event. We're going to talk about your marketing kit. How are you going to get the word out there in a way that's really easy? And it makes people excited to come, right? We're going to talk about how to properly invite to events. If anybody here is brave enough to raise their hand and be like, I did an event, nobody showed up or hardly anybody showed up, and now I have hives when I think of the word event, like that's okay too. It probably had to do with a tweak that you can do inside of your invite process. And then we're going to talk about the tech stack that we use because we've fumbled through a lot of crappy ones. And so we would just rather you guys use the ones that are going to work. And then how do these events contribute to that long-term relationship building, right? Like, I think we can all agree gone are the days where you're going to like do like a lunch and learn about the EXP model, right? Because like everybody thinks they know about the EXP model. So we have to think about ways to pour into the community, start that relationship building, and then eventually that conversation turns to how can I help you build your business using the power of EXP, right? It's just like, imagine this, it's just like any clients, right? You guys are all superstar agents. You would never walk up to a stranger and be like, hi, my name is Tara McCarthy. I'm with eXp Realty. I'd love to sell your house, right? Like we don't do that. We build the relationship, we pour into them, we create value, we show how we're different. It's the exact same process through agent attraction. It's just a little bit of tweak in the messaging, right? Like Jamie and Lauren and I were joking, we do tons of trainings on how to attract listing clients. Y'all, I'm going to just be totally transparent. A lot of these slides are exactly the same, and we switched seller for agent. Like literally the process. So you guys are already, it feels weird and it feels scary, but you guys are already masters at this because you've mastered your real estate business. So just know that you guys are fully equipped to do this. So anyways, Jamie, you want to talk about starting kind of small?
Yeah, so kind of like what Dave mentioned, we started out small. I mean, let's be honest, our very first event in the middle of post-COVID, well, it was still COVID, 2021, we're like, who will take us? And thankfully, Nashville was wide open. We had a cap of like 100 people max that we could have at that event. And that was our very first event, so to speak. We've done little smaller ones in between. We've done webinars, but we're going to talk about small events. How many should we do a year? As many as you can. In fact, we had the pleasure and honor of being in a breakout session with Brent Gove at EXPCon where we actually kind of talked about this. And I learned from one of our co-panelists, Daniel, he does events every single week. And when you think event, you're thinking like big blowout stuff like Dave said that we do. No, we're talking about like small potluck type things at your office. And Daniel shared a lot about that. So think about that. Like, how many can I do? Can I do one a week? Can I at least do one a month? What does that look like, right? It doesn't have to be like a huge thing. They can be smaller, 5 to 20 people max. They can be free or paid. So for example, you can host one at a local spot, or let's just say your small office. If you have a small office, BYOB, everyone bring your own beef, I think is what Daniel called it. Bring your own beef. And so he's like, bring your hamburgers, bring your hot dogs, bring your beverage, and we'll all just kind of hang out and have communion together around the grill on the back patio at his office, which I thought was brilliant. If you don't have an office, that's fine. Do a local meetup at a co-working station. Do the same exact thing. You can rent a small little conference room. You can even team up with your lender or your title company and do the same thing. So, and there's this free too. So the pro to having these smaller events, you get lots of one-to-one time with agents. They can be free. Time can be your only investment in this. And it always just kind of helps grow your sphere of agents. I don't know about y'all, but I want to do business with other top agents that are showing up to events, because the people showing up to events and pouring back into the real estate community are typically the ones that are smart, that want to invest in their own business and want to create relationships with other agents in their market center as well. Now, the con to having smaller events, you can't reach as many people at once. And sometimes you do need a little bit more organization time. So here's some examples. Again, you guys, let's think outside the box here. These events don't need to be only real estate agent specific events. In fact, we have agents in our community, which I don't know if Tara said is now 21,000 women strong all across the country. Here's some examples of things that they're doing. They're doing craft night. I think Lauren posted the other day that she wants to do a sourdough bread making event where everyone just come together and like, let's learn how to make sourdough bread because that's like a huge fad right now. Now's the right perfect time to do a business planning session or a vision board session. You can do free trainings. You can do a model home content day where you all meet up and take B-roll and photos and content of each other at model homes. Lauren and I did this last year because she and I are only a 2-hour drive apart, where we did a parade of home bus tour. And that was kind of fun. We got a limo bus, we got 25 agents together, we provided lunch, and we just went around for 4 to 5 hours and toured all these amazing parade homes. Tax planning for real estate agents. The three of us actually just hosted an online webinar for our elite coaching girls yesterday with a top tax professional who gave us tips on how to plan for taxes as a real estate agent. And that was huge. So much value in that. So all of these things that I'm saying, remember, sometimes it's just you planning the event. You don't need to be the one speaking always. Get another professional that can come and speak on your behalf. Team up with other agents. What are each agent's superpower that are in your market center? And do a panel of whatever those superpowers are that they have. You don't have to be the only one speaking. So if it gives you hives to think about speaking, find professionals to come in and speak about that, right? Like how to set up a lead magnet, masterclass, how to set up Google My Business. There's so many different ideas. But just realize it doesn't have to be only real estate related. They can be hangout events too.
Yeah, I wanted to mention one thing on here because I know a lot of times, especially when I personally, and I know the girls too, like we were at EXP before we met. So we were hosting more of these smaller agent attractions specific to our small EXP organization. And sometimes you get in your head and you're like, well, who do I invite? Think about like, go back through who you've done sales with that you actually like working with. And the same is true in your real estate business. When you're niching down to your specific client avatar, you can do that with agent attraction. If you don't want to handhold and you don't love like training how to put a lockbox on a house, you're probably not going to go right after brand new baby agents. And that's okay. If you're more on the investment side and you love like working with investment properties and having those types of conversations, like go through a list that you can go through the list of agents that might meet that avatar. It's okay to niche down with this. Again, you can't be all things to all people and you can't speak to every single agent. So that's where I started. I went back through all my cross sale agents and I was like, who do I actually like and want to do business with? Because ultimately at the end of the day, these people are going to be partners inside your real estate business. So it's important to attract people that are like-minded and that you actually want to run with. So just pro tip there.
And I think something that kind of became an epiphany for us too is we're really spoiled at EXP, right? Like EXP has tons and tons of training. There is no, like you could spend a month straight on EXP work and get all the training. Not every brokerage is like that, right? Like we attract so many people that are coming from smaller boutique style brokerages that they're there because of a personal relationship with the broker or by default sometimes. And they're like, this is like mind blowing to them to have like any sort of training whatsoever that they didn't have to go to a title company for or pay for. And so don't forget that the world is not always like EXP, right? Because there are so many brokerages out there and people crave knowledge. Like we talk a lot about newsjacking and figuring out what's going on in the mainstream local media and then creating and crafting events that surround that, right? Because first of all, you already can ride the momentum of that, whatever's happening. Like for example, when all the NAR stuff was happening, like we were hosting big classes and webinars about like how to talk to people about your value as a buyer agent, those kinds of things, right? Like you can totally do that too. Here in Colorado, our property taxes went up 47% on average last year. I hosted classes with my title company to teach agents how to talk to their clients about that, right? So like that was a big deal. So just kind of think about what's going on in your mind. And if you're still a little bit gun shy about even a small event, it doesn't have to be a classroom style. Like doing a progressive open house or a group open house in a neighborhood, that's an event, right? Because think about all the communication that you're going to have back and forth with those agents, just inviting them to participate, letting them know what's going on, creating the collateral, sharing the Facebook stuff. Like those relationships that are built over those 2 or 3 weeks leading up to that mega open house, those will create relationships with agents. And now that person you can invite to another event. So it all is like stacking, it's building. So those are some of the smaller events you guys can do. If you want to take a screenshot of this slide, y'all are more than welcome to as well. I'm going to go ahead and switch it over though. Okay, so the next one is going to be larger events. We encourage you to do a larger event 4 times a year, 1 per quarter. Okay, so this is something that you're going to want to, 1,000 people, if you're just getting started, 1,000 people might be a little bit of a stretch right now, but maybe your goal, if your first large event, maybe your goal is to get 100 butts in seats, right? And these, again, they can be free. Or once you start to grow and build your audience, we charge upwards, like depending on the ticket level, anywhere from $500 to $1,500 for a ticket to one of our big events, right? So you can charge for these depending on who your speakers are, how long the event is, those kinds of things. The big pro to this is that you can kind of walk the talk in these big events, right? It's a way for your people to understand what you're building. And these are great ones for like people to collaborate, maybe 4 or 5 of you guys get together and you pull your lists. They're big impact and they're impressive, right? You're always going to have the people that are going to chase that shiny object. And so big events are a way to kind of play into that person's personality. The big con is big events are like a wedding. You only talk to everybody for about 30 seconds, right? So that's not the place you're going to build the relationship. That's the place where you're going to build your authority, right? So that's really important. You're building your relationship through the smaller events, and then these bigger events is the right hook, right? The smaller events are the jab, jab, jab. The big events, the right hook is, do you know who I am, basically, right? Like that's kind of like, I kind of want to explain it that way, because anybody that's on the fence, they're like, dang, I need to be a part of what they're doing because this is incredible. And going back to what Lauren said at the beginning, it's about how you make them feel during these events, right? So when it is a big event and there's 100, 200, 500, 1,000 people there, and you remember to go up and show them your name, like that's really impactful, right? Big events, just so y'all know, expensive. Like you're not going to make money on big events. So get that out of your head right now. If you're like, oh, I'm going to go host this 500 person event and I'm going to charge $1,500 and pocket 6 figures, you'll probably be in the whole 6 figures if you don't have any sponsors. So I want you to know, like, this is definitely a graduated stepping stone type of process, but you can also get sponsors, right? Like you can work with your title company, your lenders, your inspectors. We have like a whole list of shooting fish in a barrel with all of our EXP preferred partners, right? So call them up and ask them for their participation. So some examples of these things are like annual conferences. We do one-day events, like we're doing a hometown tour right now where we're traveling across the United States. We get about 100 to 150 people in each city. So these are down the road, but we want you to see the vision of what's possible when you start with the smaller events, because it starts with getting those first 5 people in front of you for lunch, right? Or doing the mega open house, or that little title class that you did that you felt like was a failure because only 6 people showed up. Well, you know what? A year from now, probably 4 of those 6 people are going to be in your EXP organization, right? Because it takes time to foster these relationships.
Yep. Okay. And then you can also do online webinars. We host a lot of online webinars, and listen, there's a lot you can do through Zoom, but you have to have a mix of all of it, right? There's nothing that's going to ever replace getting belly to belly with somebody and getting face to face. But this is a great way to start that relationship. And this is a great way to kind of expand your reach, right? Because online webinars aren't going to be so market specific. And with social media now, and because we're all so interconnected, we've got a different way that we can impact and get agents in other markets, which is awesome. So examples of this, you could host Canva basics for entrepreneurs. Just think about, like, because we are all entrepreneurs, what do we need, right? We need stuff on Canva basics. We need lead magnets. We hear these fancy words out here and all these real estate stuff. And we're like, what the heck's a lead magnet? If you've ever thought, what the heck is a lead magnet? There's plenty of other agents in that same boat that don't know what that is. So make it easy for them to get that information and feel like they're not alone, right? Social media, same thing. There's a lot of us that are great at social media. There's a lot of people that still struggle with social media. And there's a lot of people, and we know because women in our community that, you know, maybe in their like upper 60s and up or whatever, they just feel super intimidated by it. So if you can create a space that they can feel empowered, even in the little smallest wins in social media, they will be forever grateful for you. AI for real estate. Speaking of newsjacking, that one over the past couple of years has been a super hot topic. People want to know, is AI taking my job and how do I use AI? It's not. But how do I use AI to help me in my real estate business, to leverage, to maybe make things not take as long as they should take, right? Tax planning, we mentioned that one. Google My Business Masterclass. Again, anything can be an online webinar right now, specifically if you're wanting to do something before the end of the year, just a business planning strategy session. It doesn't have to be fancy, but literally like some agents don't know, how do I do a profit and loss? Okay, that would be a great one. How to organize this stuff so that when they get in 2025, we're set up for success. So think outside the box. It can be anything.
Right.
I think it's important though to note, make sure you have a marketing kit, no matter what event you're doing. I often see agents try to do events and they'll just throw up some super generic, non-branded thing that they found in Canva and they just post it one time, or they post it in Eventbrite thinking that Eventbrite is going to be what drives traffic to their event. We want you guys to realize that branding also matters when it comes to agent attraction. Tara is a wizard with all of our graphics. She does like 99.9% of our stuff. So maybe you don't have a Tara, but you can go onto like Fiverr or Upwork and find someone who's really, really good at graphics for pretty inexpensive to create basically your marketing kit for you in order to market your event correctly. Because at the end of the day, like that matters. Like for me, I don't know about you guys, but like social media fatigue is real. And when I start to scroll and I see events, if it's not stopping my scroll and is not attractive to look at, like I'm just going to scroll right past it and not even realize like that's an event that I probably should have been at. And so please realize it matters. Graphics matter, marketing matters, but make sure you have your entire marketing kit ready to go before you start marketing the event. And we always say this is plan the event, have that at least one graphic. And as soon as you post it out there, make sure you're working on the back end for all the details, because nothing will hold you accountable more than marketing it and going, oh, shoot, I posted it on social media. Now I need to do this.
I have to actually do it.
Yeah. In fact, I think that's how it happened with us.
Yeah, for sure. You guys can go on Etsy as well. Like Etsy sells like event templates. If that whole graphic thing just intimidates the crap out of you, just go on Etsy and buy like a template packet and throw your picture on it. Like honestly, it's better than nothing. But the point is it all needs to be cohesive and it needs to, like Jamie said, stop your scroll. Just don't be boring. Just think, how can I make this not boring? And what if I was scrolling? What would stop me in my tracks? What would I want to go to? Get creative with some of your titles, do some fun stuff.
I only shared this one because this was our last 3-day webinar that we did. I think we ended up having over 1,800 people that registered for this online webinar. And so that's what we're saying. The power compounds. The power of hosting small events compounds over time.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, you said 1,800, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
about 1,300 showed up. We've broken Zoom multiple times. Talk about thinking on your feet. Wait until you get more people than fit in your Zoom room. And then you're like, holy shit, how do I upgrade while I'm actually teaching right now, right? Like it's all happened to us.
It's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem.
Oh gosh, it is a problem. Okay, so this is where you guys, I want you to be super open-minded, because I'm gonna say something to you right now. It doesn't even matter if people show up to your event. And this is why I'm saying this, because the magic is in the invite. you guys. Events, for all of you that are like, I would love to agent attract. I don't know what the heck I'm going to talk to them about. Once I call them one time to tell them I enjoyed working with them, I really don't know how to follow up with them again, right? Or I don't know what to say on that second call, or I feel awkward. Events are the answer to all of these problems, you guys, because nobody feels awkward getting invited to an event. Everybody loves to be invited to an event, even if they're not going to go. So when we're talking about the invitation, if you've ever thrown an event and not as many people showed up as you were hoping, it's because your invite system was broken. Okay. Believe it or not, your event is not the biggest thing that somebody else has going on in their life. It might be the biggest thing you have going on in your life right now. And you know how amazing and cool it's going to be. But these people are like, oh, another class, right? Or another this or another that, or especially this time of year, it can be, there's a lot of things pulling at our attention, right? So you do have to continually invite people. Remember that less than 5% of your social media audience sees any given post that you post online. So if you post your event one time and you have 1,000 friends, 50 people are going to see that, right? Which means 950 people didn't see that. So you have to post and post and post and post. Same thing with email. Like our emails at this point get upwards of a 60% open rate. When you start, it'll probably be 15 to 20%, which means that you need to send that email 5 times in order to potentially reach your entire audience statistically, right? Text has nearly an 100% open rate, right? One of the great things about the audience we're going after with agent attraction is we know all these agents' telephone numbers, right? You can look that up in MLS or you can look it up online. It's not like regular clients where you're trying to dig through Vulcan or something like that to get their telephone number. You have it right at your fingertips. So text them. Text has nearly 100% invite or open rate. And then you have to remind and remind and remind, right? Hey, can't wait to see you in 2 days at the chili cook-off. Can't wait to see you in 2 days at the Canva class, right? The next day, hey, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. Don't forget, I'm going to have donuts, so don't worry about stopping for coffee on the way in, right? Then you send them a reminder the morning of, hey, when you get here, this is the entrance that you go through. Even if it's completely obvious what entrance they go through, first of all, there's going to be one dumb person in that group that still is not going to get it, right? So you're helping yourself. But the other piece is now that's the 3rd time in 3 days they've seen your face and they're like, okay, this lady's serious about this event, right? Then when they leave, schedule a text immediately after the event. So thank you so much for coming. We were excited to see you. If they registered and they didn't come, you're going to say, thank you so much, or sorry, we didn't see you, right? I saw that you registered and you didn't make it. I was just checking to make sure everything's okay, right? A day later, thanks again for coming. Is there any questions that you came up with over the last 24 hours, right? So that's like 8 invites in like just after somebody registers, right? And then not to mention all of the things. So email, phone, text reminders. Go ahead, Jamie.
Real quick, I just wanted to interject just so you guys are aware, this 56 total touches is bare minimum, like that you should be doing. And I think we're saying this because I mentioned earlier, people will post an event on Eventbrite and that's all they do. And then they think, oh, Eventbrite will push people to my event. That's not true. So that's why Tara is giving you our exact framework. She just mentioned 8 text touches just in text alone. This right here, this framework, if you guys want to take a picture of this, is the bare minimum of what you should be doing.
Yep. And so on social media, you're going to share it on your own personal social media, obviously. You're going to look for groups of agents that are your ideal client for this, right? Whether that's local real estate groups, if it's an in-person event, you're going to go into all your little board groups and all of that, post that. Who cares if it gets taken down or you get a little slap on the wrist from the admin, like whatever, right? Especially if it's not branded, you won't get in very much, like nobody's really going to say anything. Don't post in other realtors groups though. Like we do say, like, try to be classy about it, right? So you're going to post organically. Then we also want you to run retargeting ads to your email list, right? And your email list will grow as you continue to invite people. But, that's something that they'll see 10 to 12 times prior to the event as well. So like every event that you do, 56 touches, imagine if you do that 4 times a year, the agents that you're inviting are going to hear from you 200 times over the course of the year. It seems like a lot, but think about the exposure. We're exposed to, like, they say that I heard like over 900,000 marketing messages in one day, every single person is. So even though 56 seems like a lot, it's really a drop in the bucket when compared to everything else that's going into our minds. But you got to stay top of mind. So if you have an event and you didn't get the attendance that you wanted, you need to look at two things. Number one is, did you invite enough, right? If you didn't get in front of them 56 times, then the answer is no. And the second one is content, right? Sometimes it is a content issue. It's just missing the mark on messaging, but it's usually an invite, because if you've got 1,000 people that you're inviting, 20 of them are going to find, no matter what you're doing, 20 of them are going to find it interesting, right?
Yeah, well, speaking of content, this is off topic to that slide, but make sure that you're capturing content at your events so that you can use that moving forward on different types of ads. Because graphics are great, static images are great, but sometimes it is that reel, or sometimes it is that picture of an actual group of people that they're like, oh, they look fun to hang out with, right? That might draw them in. So when you're capturing that content at your different events, you have stuff to use moving forward. So make sure you're doing that.
Especially when you do cool shit. Like,
yeah. This is Lauren. Lauren's the copyright queen. She writes all our copy. This is her.
Well, I just think that sometimes we get in our head and we make this way harder than it needs to be. And people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. Literally, you just invite them to the event, right? Hey, Jamie, hope your day's off to a great start. I don't know if I've ever told you, but you're pretty good at this real estate thing. It's a breath of fresh air to have like-minded agents in our industry to collaborate with. I'm hosting an event. I'm going to do a class on Canva. It's going to be really cool. I'd love to see you. Can you come Thursday at noon? Like, easy. Just be normal. Just be a normal person. Have a talk like you would talk to your best friend.
Yeah. And when you're thinking about who to invite, literally everyone. Like, don't overthink it. Don't get in your head like you need to come up with this perfectly curated invitation list, because what if too many people RSVP? If too many people RSVP, you'll figure it out. Promise you that. Like, I just told the story about the Zoom situation. Like, look, you're going to figure it out one way or another. And that's the best kind of problem to have. So just anybody and everybody, and think of a reason to reach out to them. You know, this was a great script that Lauren just gave you for, I've worked with you before, I already know you, right? What if you just invited all the people that are in the general area of one of your listings? Hey, I saw that you have a listing over here. You did a really awesome job with the photography. I can tell you're really serious about this. Like, come to this event that I'm hosting. We're going to level up our XYZ game, right? People want to be invited places. This is the thing, y'all. Real estate is a really lonely business. Like, for a people business, real estate is lonely. This is the only industry where we compete with our colleagues, right? So it gets weird there. Your clients are your best friends for like 30 days and then they disappear, right? So that you don't like hear from them all the time. Your friends and family think you've literally lost your mind because you're working all the time every single weekend and you got your laptop out at the baseball game. So it, like, other than just the impact of pouring into community and building your agent attraction, this is good self-love, honestly, like to be in community with other agents that understand and get your day-to-day life. Like, it will improve your own life. So if nothing else, be selfish and do this, because it's going to improve your everyday life.
Yeah, that's a good reminder.
I met my best friends by doing this. I've got a video for you guys.
Oh, so I didn't realize we were already on slide number 9. My cup was in the way.
It's all good. This is a short little less than 2-minute video, just a compilation of some of the events we've done.
The National Association of Realtors has agreed to pay $418 million in damages to settle class action antitrust lawsuits over broker commissions.
Right now, we are living through a record housing affordability shock. The National Association of Realtors announced Friday that it will eliminate rules on commissions.
You're likely to find a different option, so you certainly must have information.
So without further ado, I like to introduce my album. Hope. What's my definition of success? Listening to what your heart says. Standing up for what you know is all everybody else says. Taking it to between their legs. Something that we thought could never happen. It's a person that can see the bright side through the dark times when they're able. It's a person that can take the stars and they like to turn them into motivation. It's believing in yourself when no one else does. It's amazing.
Then through the training, you're better, you're faster, and you're stronger than the other agents out there. You have an entire community of women cheering you on. You just have to take action.
We just wanted to share that video just to kind of encourage you guys that something so small, while it might start small, it doesn't always have to be small, and you can scale this to as big as you want. You just have to start.
Yeah, good.
And again, when you prove your value through consistent deposits into the reciprocity bank, you don't have to ask them to show up anymore. They just do.
That's one of the biggest things. Everybody inevitably asks us, so when do we bring EXP into this? When do we give the pitch, right? Like, when do we start talking about rev share? And the answer is you don't at your events. Honestly, you guys, it's not a bait and switch. You deliver exactly what you promised to deliver and then some. And once you do that enough times over and over and over again, they will ask you. They will ask you to be part of what you're doing because it will be so impactful and so moving to them that they can't help but want to be a part of it. And tell me that that's not the type of people that you want running with you all day, every day. The best business plan is to be a good human. And you guys have great leadership with Dave and Kristen in order to help kind of shepherd you guys through that. But just like Jamie said, just know that that event where 2 people showed up to your first one, like, it will grow and it will get bigger and it will be impactful for you and your family, and you'll build legacy wealth through it.
All right. Yeah, we got 2 more slides. Our tech stack, because we always get asked, what's the tech stack for inviting to events? I'm kind of like known as Tech Tulak on the back end of our stuff. Texting platform, when you're starting really small, just use Reach. It's an app that you can purchase, and it makes it really simple. It allows you to curate your that script that we gave you. You can literally copy and paste that and then just send it to a bunch of people. But the cool part is it comes from your cell phone number. So it basically will make you do it 1-to-1-to-1, but it makes it a lot faster to do that. You can then upload CSV files. So like, let's say you do your first event and you collect their data. Well, guess what? Now you have their phone numbers for the next time. You upload that in a CSV file or whatever, and then you know that, oh, they came to my last event. So you have their contact info to quickly send out the text, okay? Now, when you start to scale to the level that we're at now, we use Simply Text. Lauren, again, like I said, she does 99% of our copyright. She sends the mass text no matter what event we have. If it's a small event, a large event, an online webinar, we always send out those reminders. And then we send out texts like during our conference all throughout the day, and then post event. And we use that through Simply Text. You can segment them out. So if you know, like, if they're at a certain brokerage or if they came to a previous event, it's just good to segment them so you know who they are. Sometimes they respond to you, right, Lauren, in that mass texting, Simply Text?
Yeah.
But they know that it's coming from a mass text provider because it's like one of those weird numbers, you know? It was funny. One time Lauren sent something and it's referred to something about Dolly Parton. And the next thing you know, everybody's getting a text message from unknown, maybe Dolly Parton. It was really cute. Okay, we talked a couple of times about Eventbrite. It's great to start there if you don't own your own tech, that's fine. But you want to graduate to your own tech because then you can build out really beautiful landing pages and you can capture data. A few years back, we started using Event Create. Now we have our own website we use through WordPress and all of that, that we have like a graphic designer. Between the graphic designer and then graphics at Terra Create, we create our landing pages now. But if you're like finally ready to graduate beyond Eventbrite, sorry, I can't talk. Event Create is the next best option. And there's lots of other platforms like Event Create. We're just giving you the tools that we've used that we've been able to succeed with. But you can sell tickets right there. You can capture their data. You can kind of curate what info you want. It creates a beautiful landing sales page for you for your event. So that's one that we recommend. And then for mass email, we get asked this a lot. We have a subscriber list now of over 25,000 people. We use Flowdesk. It curates beautiful emails. Obviously, our niche is women in real estate, so we want it to be visually appealing. MailChimp and things like that work just fine, but for us, we like Flowdesk. And I want to stress again the importance of making sure that you're segmenting your list on the back end. They can be in like 10 different segments, but it's just great to know, like, how did they come into the top of your funnel? What was the first event, and have they been to multiple events since you started doing this? But that's one way of being able to scale and build your email list.
Yep. So the ultimate goal, like we've mentioned several times, is building that relationship. Okay. If you don't feel like you have a spot, or you don't feel, and I know you guys have great, like Tara said, this is a great community, right, inside this organization. But if there's something that you want to do that you don't feel like anybody else is doing it, do it yourself. Honestly, that's where we were. We were like, man, we want to show up in a way that we just want to help people not make all the mistakes we did. And we couldn't find that kind of training out there. So we built that table and we invited people to come to it. People are lonely. They want community. People, like Jamie mentioned, they have social media fatigue. They are literally craving actual human interaction. And then again, we're not going to make it all about EXP. They're going to ask and have fun. Just be you. Everyone else is already taken, right? Just show up, be authentic. You don't have to fit in some sort of realtor box that you think you have to look like, because that's what somebody told you 5 years ago. Just show up and be authentic. Have a great time, add value, and through those relationships, you will ultimately grow your EXP organization if you are consistent about this thing. So that's it. That's all we got.
So good. All right, let me get everyone visible here and remove some spotlights. Hey, Jamie. All right, awesome. Oh, so good. All right, so full page of notes and a couple of screenshots. So much good. Chris and I are over here texting each other back and forth like, hey, we could do that.
Good.
So, awesome. Love it. Guys, hopefully you're doing the same. We're going to open it up. We've got about 7 minutes or so left. So if you guys have some questions, I know these ladies have said they'll answer your questions.
Yeah.
What you got?
I have a question. So how do you get over because I get a lot, I've only been with EXP for a year, and especially with my prior brokerage, like I get a lot of, don't talk to her, she's going to recruit you. And it just kind of gets annoying because I'm not really that pushy of a person. So how do you get over that?
Wow.
Assumption that people are going to,
yeah, it's a real thing. We've all faced that, honestly, but like, you just have to get to the point to where you've built enough trust with people that they know that's not going to happen. And then actually don't make that happen, right? Like actually create the community, build the value, like don't do the bait and switch, like Tara mentioned. And then just be honest about it. Just be like, you know what? Fine. Like I've heard Brent go say several times, like, actually you can't come to EXP. Like I'm forbidding you to come to EXP. So don't even bring that up with me. We're not talking about EXP. Like you can kind of like make it a joke and like kind of break that barrier down. And like, don't be afraid to just address the elephant in the room. Like, hey, I know you don't want to hear about EXP right now. That's not what this is about. Like, I honestly just want to collaborate with you and build relationships. I promise that door will always be open when you're ready to have that conversation, but that's not what it's about right now. Like, just hit people between the nose with it, or between the eyes, whatever that is. So that's what I would do. Everyone else is different, but I would rather just like call it out, and then ultimately, like, it's up to them. If they want to not receive value because they're too scared about somebody maybe mentioning EXP, then like, whatever, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
I also think that sometimes we make it in our head a bigger deal than it actually is. If you maybe heard one time that they said something, I promise you, they're not talking about you as much as you think that they are. We make up these scenarios in our head. and we make it to where we're afraid to do anything and we get in our own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would
Thank
also
you.
say too, like, if you really, like, if you truly think that that's an issue, like if that's like, start with an online event. Online events are really easy. Do a webinar of some sort, because then they know in their own minds, like, I can bow out of this. If she starts pitching me at EXP, all I have to do is press like the end button, right? Whereas if it's a little bit less of a commitment than going to an in-person event, right? And then once they experience something online, they're going to be like, oh, I did that. And then now all of a sudden the guard is lifted because you didn't, you know, you did exactly what you said you were going to do, which was deliver value online. And then they can come to an in-person event and feel comfortable. Also, one thing that we didn't touch on with the invites, and I want to make sure that we do this because I feel like it's a huge pro tip that most people miss when it comes to inviting, is make sure that that person knows that they can bring a +1. Okay, like ask them to register. But a couple things, obviously, the obvious benefit to that is that now you're growing your database, right? You're getting in front of more people. But that person that you invited is also a lot more likely to come because they have a wingman, right? They're not showing up to an event by themselves where they don't know anybody. They're not sure if they're going to like the content. They're not even sure about you as a person. But if they bring their bestie in real estate, like all of a sudden that's like so much easier. That person's more likely to come. You're going to double your audience. So that's a big one to make sure that people know.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Love it. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You guys have built a big database. You've got all the emails and stuff to send out. You obviously didn't start there with all the emails and all the other stuff. Maybe you had your local realtor, associations where you had contact info and that kind of stuff. How did you guys gather all that? Did you use ClickFunnels? What were you doing to capture contact info so you had a database?
I want to tell you a fun fact really quick. Up until April, we had run less than $1,000 in Facebook ads, like built multi-million-dollar business with basically no Facebook ads and no paid advertising of any sort. Okay. So but what we did do is we freaking hit our database hard, right? Like we call it like guerrilla marketing, right? Like we were up in the DMs. We were inviting people, like
lead magnets.
What's that?
Lead magnets. We built out lead magnets using Flowdesk. So that's the good thing about, that's why we use that tech stack, because with Flowdesk, you can create a lead magnet. And let's just say it's like, top 10 tax planning tips for real estate agents. Well, they want that, right? Like that's super valuable. So of course they're going to put in their contact email and their phone number to grab that free PDF. So we just started building it from there. In our Facebook group, we created our Facebook group. We asked for their email address to join our Facebook group, and then we grabbed that data and put it in our CSV file into our database. But it's like Tara said, it's just been guerrilla marketing and just making sure that we're providing value. I think that's the thing. If you're providing so much value that they want what you have, they're going to give you their contact information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Did you guys use like things of value kind of a thing? Like, hey, if you want this, give us your email address and we'll shoot it out to you. Okay.
Sure. Like our biggest one was when it was like major multiple offer time, right? Does everybody remember that market when there was like 27 offers on everything? So we came up with what we called a buying power checklist. And we came up with like all of our best ideas of like what to add to your offer to make it more likely to get accepted beyond just like earnest money, waiving inspection, the stuff that everybody was doing at the time. Like we had like 10 or 15 different ideas that like we had never seen before on contracts, but we were offering. And I want to say we probably got like 3,000 people that downloaded that over the course of the first year. But that's the other thing, you guys, like, I feel like as much as we want to say we're abundant, like, are you actually living an abundant mindset, right? Like, are you actually living in a growth mindset? Because when you start to put one of your first lead magnets together, the feeling that's inside of you is like, should I really do this? Because like now they're going to know all my secrets, right? Like they're going to know what like gives me my edge. And you just have to just like take a deep breath and send it out, because first of all, 99% of people aren't going to execute on it anyways. And that's just the truth, right? That's why there's such a high failure rate in real estate. There's no shortage of information, right? It's the implementation piece. So they're probably not going to use it. And even if they did, there's enough business to go around for everyone, right? And I just want to approach that because I know that that's what's going to happen to you guys. You're going to be like, oh, I'm going to create this guide about whatever in my local area, and you're going to get this feeling like you shouldn't share it out. Like, the more you deposit into the community, the more will come back to you. We are proof of that. Like, we've always kind of lived in the mindset of give away for free what other people are charging for. Right. And actually Alex Hormozy is the one that actually put that into words, but we've done that the entire like existence of Girls with Grit is like, we're just like giving it all away, because people are like, oh my gosh, if she's sharing this with everybody, imagine what it's like to be behind the curtain with her, right? Like in her organization, like if she's giving me this and I don't even know who she is, then what is she going to give me if I go to work with her? People, it's that mindset.
So good. All right, guys. Boom. So hopefully you guys, you're getting a picture of this. This is something where, in our group, ladies, this is something where, our group is newer, right? And we've started out just because of the nature of my relationships. It's been small pockets in a lot of places, right? So in a short period of time with a small group of people, we're in 22 states and 4 countries, right? And so, right, which is great, but the problem is it's small groups of people in these markets right now, but we've got some of the people that are on here right now are super committed to growing. They're already growing, getting some good traction. So we have that opportunity to start small in these events and start building them. So this casts that vision. You guys started out small. I remember we were first talking about this, and my question was like, this is amazing. Your vision is incredible. How are you going to monetize this? So
I remember you asking us that, and we did, Dave.
We figured that piece out, Dave. Thanks.
Yes, you did. You guys
on the radar.
You guys are like Amazon. Hey, everybody made fun of Jeff Bezos too at the beginning because he was losing money and he was doing all this stuff. And everyone's like, well, we're not investing in that. His stock was in the garbage because, they couldn't figure out how he's going to make money from it. But you guys brought value and brought value and brought value until people were, excited to, they felt the return on their investment and they're willing to do it. And it makes a ton of sense. So I want everyone here to get a sense of that, and don't look at the Brett Gove, hey, I got to do a Cabo event or whatever, right? You don't have to have 1,200, 4,000 people show up at your event. Start off with those smaller ones, build that community, and that community will build on itself. And then you have that compounding, effect. And we're going to link arms and do all of that together. So you have the blueprint right here from some that are doing it the best that I've seen. You guys are incredible. So it's been super, super fun watching you guys just blow it up and do awesome stuff with it. I had no doubt. So yeah, it's great. Thank you so much for sharing with us, guys.
You'll always be my president, Dave.
I love it. Can I do the dance?
Yeah. Oh yeah, do the dance. I almost posted that when I was sharing that we were going to be on this call. Like I had a hashtag, that's my president.
Well, we love you guys. We appreciate you. You brought all the incredible info and everything else like I was hoping you would. So man, I really appreciate it. And we look forward to hanging out with you soon. We're going to find a time we all get together. Kristen and I will get out there. She's handling the painters and everything. That's why we're running around.
Well, thank you.
Guys, have an awesome weekend. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We love you guys. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you soon. And feel free to share this within your group, and let's make some awesome plans. Let's tear it up.
Go. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.